Oh, I just grew taller. Welcome on this Sunday after Thanksgiving. Welcome all of you who are here, and especially if you are forgoing connections with family who may have had the opportunity to get together on Thanksgiving and celebrate all of you as a family. Let us say in unison words of welcome that will appear on your screen if all is working correctly. And there we are. If you are an immigrant, a refugee, or undocumented, you are welcome here. If you are a theist or an atheist or uncertain about your beliefs, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or what your gender identity, you are welcome here. And don't for nothing, visibly, you are welcome here. If you are disheartened or if you struggle each day to make it, you are welcome here. Whoever you are, you, your family, and all that you are welcome here. For we strive to be a community of diversity, of love and justice, and it is good to be together.
Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, a vibrant, liberal religious home for all ages. Welcome to our shared journey of the Spirit. I am Marjorie Wormser, your worship associate today, and this fellowship has a tradition of shared ministry. Some services, such as this morning, are led by a guest minister, Reverend Alan Wells, and our settled minister, Reverend Sasha Ostrom, will be leading next week's service. We support each person's individual spiritual journey while working together to build a loving, just, and sustainable, beloved community among us and also in the wider world. Whoever you are, whatever led you here to us today, you are welcome here. I especially want to welcome newcomers and returning members who are here with us today. We are so glad to have you with us. If this is your first visit, I invite you to fill out a visitor card after the service to help us get to know you and help you get connected with our community. You can do that at the welcome table, which, as you entered, was on your right. As you leave, it'll be on the left by the double doors. So welcome. Our welcome ambassador today is Maureen Dempsey. Maureen, are you here? Yes. Okay. Maureen would love to meet you and answer any questions you might have. And thank you for introducing yourself, Maureen. While everyone is welcome to worship with us here in the sanctuary, which we call the meeting room in the Quaker tradition, this is not the only place where you can enjoy the service. Many of you are joining us today through our live stream from the comfort of your own home or from our library, which is out these doors and immediately to the left as you enter the Great Hall. Our library has a large screen and is a especially comfortable space to enjoy the service if you or a loved one need space where you can stretch your legs or have a conversation. Please refrain from bringing food into the library for the safety of those among us with food allergies. And if you haven't already done so, please silence your cell phone. We are a vibrant and active community with many opportunities for you to get involved. You can learn about some of these activities on the back of your order of service and more fully in our weekly e-newsletter, which is also available on our website. This morning, I will highlight a couple of items, except this doesn't have two sides. May I? John, thank you so much. This fellowship is collecting specific gift items for inmates in the county jail. Please grab a tag from our annual holiday tree out the doors and immediately to the right. and help this holiday drive. On December 8th, 1 week from today, there will be a special congregational meeting to vote on the proposed budget for the solar project. There will be one more information session on the budget on this coming Tuesday. That would be December 3rd at 7 p.m. through Zoom. And finally, Reverend Sasha invites all congregants to schedule a one-on-one meet and greet appointment to help her get to know you. See the newsletter to sign up. She's especially interested in connecting with newcomers to our community and younger families, and everyone is welcome. And it is time to light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. This morning we remember the origin of the flaming chalice as a symbol of Unitarian and Universalist efforts to help people escape persecution and find safety during the Second World War. May it always serve as a beacon of hope. Is there a volunteer, a young volunteer or a young at heart volunteer who would like to help light this morning's chalice? I'll help. Young at heart, come on up. Oh, guess what? What I forgot.
May this chalice light be a light of truth for us in these times. May it be a symbol of warmth to those who are hungry for company and not having to be alone. May be a flame of inspiration for acts of justice for our world. May it be a spark of truth when truth has been lost. May its warmth symbolize the warmth within us, and may its light represent the larger light in which all our lives are embedded, and which expresses itself as love for self, for others, and for the world. I was about to forget the most important thing, which is please greet your neighbor this morning. Say hello, shake their hands if you would like, say namaste. Let us sing together. The words will be on the screen. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Open your ears. Do I have any young ones to join me today? I have a wonderful book to read. I see Paisley. Oh, wonderful. Great. Okay, so we're going to sit down. Oh, I'm getting a little old for this, but that's okay, right? So, oh, yes, come on in. Will you be able to see? Can you sit up here a little bit? Paisley, you're going to be able to see. Hi, Grace, come on over. Anyone else? Okay. Well, the last couple of times that I did this, my girls, I have 2 daughters, were your age. And then they grew up and grew up and grew up, and now they're mommies. And they have children like you, right? So it's so nice to be here with you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the gentleman that's behind us, right over here. That's Reverend Allen. Reverend Allen is a member of our congregation, but he's also a minister, which is pretty cool, right? So we have a little extra help in the fellowship. So he gets to talk to us and be with us and help love us, just like we love him, right? But guess what? I learned something about Reverend Allen. Reverend Allen asked me to find a book that would be good, that would go with something that he's going to talk about to everyone today. And I called up my daughter, and I said, Kara, I need help. And she said, well, isn't he kind of a Buddhist? And I said, yeah, he is a UU Buddhist. And she said, I have the perfect book. And it's called A Stone Sat Still. So Reverend Allen, he likes to go hiking, and he likes to dance, and he likes to sing because he's in the choir. And guess what else he does? I just learned. He's a party crasher. But he's also someone that likes to sit still and meditate. So I thought this would be a very good book to learn about. So, also I want to tell you there are 2 different kinds of adventures when I think about an adventure. When I ask you about an adventure, what do you think about? Going on an adventure. What could that be? Anybody out there? Where would be an adventure for you? Traveling far away, right. Maybe getting on a plane or a train, choo-choo, or getting in the car and going somewhere, right? That could be an adventure. Or we could just be outside, walking around and finding some things. And I learned when we took our girls on an adventure, they were your age, we went across country. And we went all the way to California, from New Jersey to California. And my husband, John, said, I want to see the Grand Canyon. And I said, I want to see the big redwood forest. And I stayed there all day long, and it was wonderful. And my girls said, I want to go to Disneyland. But on the way to Disneyland, we stopped in all these wonderful places. And what did John and I said, look at the mountains, the Rocky Mountains. Look at Donner Pass. Look at the tumbleweed rolling across the road. Look at the desert. And guess what they saw? Little stones, little bugs, little animals. They looked up and then they looked down. And I learned that there's 2 kinds of adventures, the kind that you see big things and the kinds that you see just little things. So let's read this book together. And I think, oh, good. Alex has got it up there. You ready? So you can watch it up there or you can watch it on the book. Okay? All right. Now, this is a story called A Stone Sat Still by Brendan Wenzel. And I've adapted this book. Can you see? I've adapted this book just for you guys, so it's a little different, and you'll see markings that helps me read it nicely, right? A stone sat still with the water, grass, and dirt, and it was as it was where it was on the earth. Do you see the stone here? Sitting right in the dirt, right? It's just sitting there, doing nothing. Okay. The stone looked dark. The stone was bright. Oh, Grace is resting. And it sat where it sat. See, there it is. What's that little guy? And it sat where it sat, a snail, with the water, grass, and dirt. And it was as it was where it was on the earth. And the stone was rough. Look at that rough edges. And here's that snail again. I bet he feels all those bumps. And the stone was smooth. Look at the porcupine sitting on it, perched up there, right? And the stone was green. Oh, I bet it's covered with moss now in the springtime. And then what happens in the fall? It turns red with what? What do you think those are? Leaves, right? And purple. Ooh, maybe it's kind of hazy out, a little foggy. And a stone turns blue as the light changes, right? But it's still just sitting there. It's being what it is, right? The stone was a pebble. Oh, this looks like a moose, right? And it's just so tiny to the moose. And the stone was a hill. Oh, see that guy? Look at it. Looks like a hill for him, right? Whoa, he has a long way to go to get on top. And it sat where it sat with the water, grass, and dirt. And it was as it was where it was on the earth. Here's the water coming in. It's probably getting to be high tide. And the stone was the wild. Look at it. All the different animals hiding with the grass and the different reeds growing around it. And the stone was a home. Looks like little field mice. See the little field mice there? Yeah. And the stone was a kitchen. Uh-oh, somebody's going to get eaten. Uh-oh. And the stone was a throne. Maybe a bobcat? I don't know. Looks like some kind of cat, right? And the stone was a marker. What's this? Yeah, well, I think it's a goose, maybe a Canadian goose. And they're flying and they're using the stone to help them guide their way. And this little guy looks like a ant, right? And he's making marks for all the other ants, right? So it's a map and a maze by that snail again. So it's doing a lot of work, that stone. And it's a danger, a haven, a story, a stage. Look at it, all about that. I know, yeah. And look at the shadow. See, it's a story, telling a story. And the stone was an island. Maybe the seal is on top of it, so the water really came in now. And the stone was a wave. Have you ever known such a place? Just to sit with the water, the grass, and the dirt? To know that you are where you are on this earth. Do you have any special spot where you take the time to think? Any special spot in your backyard or in the park or at the beach or the lake? Do you have favorite? Oh, really? Do you have some stones there? No? No? You know what? I wanted to give you a little something. First, I want to show you something. These are stones I just looked up this morning, and they're all at the Jersey Shore, where I'm from. And these stones are from Italy, they found out. The geologists, they look like little surfboards, right? Yeah. And they're from Italy. They're pumice from Italy, because there must have been a shipwreck. Yeah, the geologists tested the stone that they found, and they found out they were from Italy. And then this is feldspar and basalt, volcanic rock at the Jersey Shore. So there's a lot to learn from just a stone, right? And these are called the Pearls of Cape May, and they're quartz. They're quartz, all at the Jersey Shore. So you have some meditation to do, right, everyone? So I'm going to give you a little something to remember our time together, okay? One for you. And it says, even sitting with a stone could become an adventure. All right? And Paisley, would you give one to Reverend Allen for me? Right up there, behind you. Right up there. There you go. And then one for you. And one for you. Grace, you want one? All right. So that's your message for today, to help everybody remember. Okay? Here you go. All right, Miss Grace. Good to see you. All right, everyone, you can go back to your seats now. Good job. Thanks for helping me.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kathy, for that lovely time for all ages. Michael, would you come, please? I have a message from Reverend Sasha. As you may already know, today is a bittersweet day because our music director, Michael Rosen, this is his last day with us. We've been incredibly fortunate to have Michael with us for the past 18 months, sharing his incredible talent. Michael is leaving us to become the music director of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Monmouth County. Is that in Lincroft? Lincroft, okay, which is closer to home. This is very far from home. Yeah. While we're sad to see you go, we're also thrilled for your new adventure and wish you and the lucky folks at Monmouth County all the best as you begin your work together. Michael, you have enriched our services with your beautiful piano music. You've been a warm and fun leader of our choir. You have coordinated great performances by volunteers and guest musicians. You've overseen our entire music program with such tremendous skill. Everything you've done has truly made a difference in our community, and we are so grateful to have you with us for the past year and a half. Even though we're saying goodbye today, we know this isn't a permanent farewell. We look forward to see you now and then at local UU musical events, and perhaps even having you come back to share your skills with us from time to time. And as a special surprise, I'd like to invite everyone to rise in body and spirit and join together in singing a little musical goodbye. The lyrics will be on your, okay? To send Michael off with our love and best wishes. And after the service, please join us for cake during our social hour to honor Michael and celebrate with us. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Michael, thank you for being a part of our Morristown UU family. Michael, thank you for being a part of our Morristown UU family. You will always have a special place in our hearts. Happy trails to you until we meet again.
You will, Michael, and the gift there was from Margot.
This gift was from the choir and other musicians in our congregation.
And being a member of the choir myself, I want to say how much I appreciate all of you.
Say it in the mic. We almost sound like Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, didn't we? Now is the time for our milestones and passages. Sometimes we come to this sacred place with much on our hearts. Perhaps you have welcomed a new baby, lost a loved one, gotten a new job, or you have health concerns. Whatever your joy or sorrow or concern, you can share it in our service by filling out the milestones and passage form on our website before 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, and you can also fill out one of the milestone and passage cards, which is at the welcome, not the welcome table, the usher table, just before entering this room. And this morning, I don't think there are any specific milestones and passages submitted, but there may be some in our hearts. So together, let's just say, we hold you in our hearts. We hold you in our hearts. Thank you. So let us respect those needs that are unspoken and what we might have heard. We're going to enter a moment of silent meditation led by Reverend Alan Wells. And as we enter the silence, may we offer compassion for others as well as ourselves. Let us be instruments for peace and hope in the world.
I invite us to join in a little short time of sitting as a rock, as a stone, as a pebble. Just a little opportunity may we take after all the business and joy of the holidays to give thanks for being together here this morning in this place. May we acknowledge that in our world today and in our home life, there are many things that occupy our minds. I invite us to take just a moment to let our minds settle, just a little, to accept a little bit more space for the possibility inside of us of quiet, of equanimity, and revelation. To open to a perspective that is larger than our ideas, our thoughts, our feelings, emotions, and our sensations. A moment to free ourselves for a loving that is larger than our hopes, worries, aversions, desires, and fears. In this moment of quiet, may we be able to receive that which beckons us from deep within, beckons us into the intimacy of the very next moment, beckons us to the honesty of our conscience. It beckons us to the safety beyond our circumscribed fears. And as our mind quiets, may our hearts open, that it may be revealed to us the possibilities that await and the wholeness in which we live, which some may call by various names, but is the wholeness of our very existence. And that source from which we all arrive and to which we will all depart. Just a moment of quiet together. So be it. Amen. Blessed be.
Now is the time that we accept your gifts in our offertory. Every contribution makes a huge difference in the work that we do in this fellowship and in the greater world. Our offertory this morning will be shared with 50% with Family Promise, transforming the lives of families and individuals by serving our community through all stages of life to prevent or end homelessness and housing insecurity. If you are online, you can follow the instructions in our order of service to give through our website. And thank you, choir, for your music this morning.
Alan chose this song today for his service. So thank you, Alan. On Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not looking for a miracle, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-ringed bird singing like a burning bush and reading like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out by how things have changed since then, 'cause everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now.
Shall we sing together? The song will be on the screen. Where do we come from?
As usual, if you're born January to March, it will come in first with the first line. And then born in April to June, come in the second time, starting with the first line. July to September, third, and October to December, fourth. I will sing each of your entrances as the start, but for now it's January and March 1st.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? What are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where
Those were words that, although I couldn't speak them when I was little, I had in my heart, wondering all of these questions about what is the meaning of life, where do we come from, where are we going, what is it all about? So I'm very sympathetic with the search that all of us are on. We're asking the big questions. We're asking questions that guide our lives in intimate ways and very public ways as well, ways that have results for us as individuals, ways that transform our very world. I've always found in my own search, teased by a quote that one of my respected colleagues printed on his congregation's newsletter, which read, "We are given life to find its meaning. The search for meaning is an honorable quest, symbolized nowhere more nobly than by the arduous journey of Hermann Hesse's spiritual aspirant Siddhartha, who inspired my own pursuit until very recently. For my early years, I wondered about the source. What's behind the scenes? Especially Rabbi Kushner's question, why do bad things happen to good people? In college, I pursued a double major in philosophy and psychology, trying to find out why we're here and what we should do now that we are. I pursued physics for the same reason. I wanted to find out how the universe works. And my commitment was intense. I resonated with Albert Camus, who declared the literal meaning of life is whatever you're doing that prevents you from killing yourself. I wanted to know what I should be living for and why. In the early days of my Presbyterian Sunday school, I was particularly troubled by the unjust death of Jesus. I wondered, why do good people suffer? Why is life unfair? I enrolled at the University of Chicago in theological school, Unitarian school, to find an answer. But even though I was perplexed at the time and trying to study, I did want to be doing something that was helpful. So I labored at that time for economic opportunities for folks, worked for racial justice, and was on the picket line very often for peace during the Vietnam War. In fact, my stand against the Vietnam War got me fired from my first congregation. But the idealism I had and the economic world that I had envisioned did not come to pass. I remember very painfully enduring the assassination of the most probable leaders of the future that I had worked for, all closely together: Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, JFK, RFK. And I became disillusioned with the dictum of Theodore Parker, a well-known and respected Unitarian minister, who was often quoted by Martin Luther King, who said that the arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. My early realization of the approaching calamity of climate change then magnified every fear that I had. So I turned to the study of pastoral counseling, thinking about looking more inside to learn how we are to fulfill our lives. And I wanted to do what I could to help individuals flourish in an uncertain and unpredictable and calamitous world. So I doubled down on my personal search for meaning. Eventually, I stumbled across an unfamiliar Buddhist meditation practice, and I became an arduous student of Vipassana, as it's called, or insight meditation. And I followed a number of teachers. I pursued my practice diligently, hoping to find a deep explanation of what might underlie everything else. And then I gave up. I came to realize that I'd been pursuing an irresolvable paradox and entangling myself in an unanswerable question. I began to see that everything that relying upon the meaning to undergird a worthwhile life was actually going about things just backwards. I knew that Friedrich Nietzsche had written, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how," Nietzsche's quote. But I began to feel that it's the other way around. If you know how to live, you do not need to know why. Why is this? Because every why will eventually lead to a because, and every because will eventually entreat a follow-up question, so why? I began to accept the suggestion of a favorite folk song of mine that proclaims, the answer to the question is the answer to. Now, I don't mean to dismiss my own journey, or it's certainly not the journey of any of you. I believe that the search for meaning is an evolutionarily natural pursuit. It is born, I think, from our need to find security in the face of the unknown. And I also confess that I'm a long way from living without this impulse myself. The search for meaning remains tempting. Sitting on my porch this summer, I observed a butterfly flitting on my rose bush, and I impulsively and immediately began to ascribe meaning to this event. For example, this means that some butterflies, monarch butterflies at least, are not yet extinguished. Or this sighting furthers my feeling of this being a delightful evening. Or perhaps I see now that I should plant more milkweed. I could exaggerate the sighting of this butterfly even further. I reasoned, well, if I can better tend to the ecology of my yard, it will become more butterfly-friendly. Not only that, developing my yard might also increase my property value. Oh, but then I must consider, do I wish to sell or not? My essential meaning-making meandering around and it could have continued how indefinitely, I think. In this little illustration of my grasping after meaning, you may see that I evaluated the worth of this event by asking how it connects with other circumstances. And I completely siphoned the significance of this one beautiful butterfly in its momentary, precious flight, landing upon my rose right now. What a loss. Unfortunately, an etymological problem is built into the very word meaning. The word meaning by itself is meaningless. It's a linguistic orphan. To make any sense at all, it has to rely upon being connected to something else. I feel kind of sorry for this word because it can't live by without some kind of a referent. And so we're all asked to help it in any ways we can by rescuing it, by supplying a family of conjunctions. And so the way we speak about meaning is always about the meaning of, the meaning for, the meaning to something else or something. But does it not, this need for looking elsewhere, sever us from the very feeling of connection that we have at the first place? Does it not leave us with an insinuation that we've lost something? We're not connected as we were before. We maybe long for repurposing things, to trying to get more out of everything, to make something out of this, something more. Every experience can easily become a subtle attempt to get to somewhere else. Through this process, then what happens? We become a stranger in our own world. Severed from an intrinsic sense of the value before us, we're left with a sense of hollowness, a sense of deficiency. Something is missing, we feel. We hunger for more and more, and that hunger drives us to become more and more dissatisfied. The unfortunate final destination of this trip towards meaning is to find ourselves alone and alienated, just like the word itself. The final catastrophe results from this journey is that when we reach the end of the line of reference of for whom, what, why, the final destination becomes, you guessed it, maybe, me. How does it mean to me? This separated, judgmental, independent, and disconnected judge of everything. I become the final reference point, the ultimate discriminator, the measure of everything, the center of my world as I view it. The default conclusion of our search for meaning is that the meaning of the universe becomes all about me. But suppose we subtract me, the me, from serving as the final reference point of everything. Then the whole system of disconnected interpretation falls apart like a house of cards, and we are left originally connected and whole. The reunion, we feel, is completely natural because the universe, why? Because the universe does not have a referent. It does not have a center. And even if it did, it is pretty doubtful that it would be me. The universe simply is what it is. There's no need to take it further. In the words of poet James Broughton, this is it, and I am it, and you are it, and so that is that. And he is it, and she is it, and it is it, and that is that. What is that? I think is what we are searching for. It is to be fully alive. It is to know oneness, connection, spontaneity, creativity, movement, and mystery. It's that is the experience of living beyond the imaginary boundaries and constrictions of time, without depending upon future expectations to enliven our lives, or the fear of becoming lost ourselves in the annals of history. It's living with the freedom and the flow of everything. What a relief it is to understand that it can all be meaningless. At least, I remember the story, well, not at least, I recall the story of Alice in Wonderland. The King of Hearts there affirms the relaxation and freedom that results from this epiphany. He declares, well, if there's no meaning in it, that saves a world of trouble. You know, we do not have to find any. But unfortunately, do we not, we forget the advice of the King of Hearts. And we find ourselves as if we're living outside the universe, from the interpretive point of view, and trying to figure it out from the outside in, which is impossible, since we are within it. The universe is larger than our minds. The question, I think, what is the meaning of a life, is a lot like asking a wise fish to articulate the meaning of the ocean. It's not a proper question for a fish or a possible perspective for a fish. It's a question that only the ocean could answer, but then why would it want to? The ocean is not seeking after meaning. Once there were a few of us who were very fortunate to have lunch with the esteemed mythologist Joseph Campbell, and he summed up, who were around his table, he said these words. He said, life, he said, so simply, is not a problem to be solved. It's a mystery to be lived. When we live without this need for meaning, everything happens. Everything comes and arrives as if for the first time. It's unique, every experience, excitingly precious. Washing dishes, sitting on the toilet, smiling, grimacing, tending a wound, winking, scratching, arguing, even the act of dying. And especially, though, our moment-by-moment awareness of being conscious in this precious existence. Everything becomes astoundingly valuable. Every moment in our life becomes infused with a choice, always is infused with a choice between searching for meaning and experiencing connection. The more we hunger for the meaning, the more we distance ourselves from the connection. And the more we connect, the more we become alive and more deeply connected. So relatively and abstractly speaking, I think life is meaningless. But intimately and absolutely lived, life is of infinite worth. If we were to calibrate our life expectancy in minutes, we would have, each of us, approximately 42 million opportunities for living a precious life. We have only to avoid distancing ourselves. It's so easy. I can distract myself simply by picking up a pen or looking to pick up that hammer. And faster than the blink of an eye, I can attribute some meaning to this event. Why now? What had happened right in the middle of my precious talk? And faster than the blink of an eye, I'm lost in a search for meaning. Oh, well, this reminds me of the last time I did a talk and I forgot a script. Or it reminds me of something, this is, hope it didn't break. Or my search can go on forever. In an instant, I can entangle myself in a web of meaning that can stretch as far as wide until I've completely forgotten what was the little shock experience just at that moment when the ringer hit the floor. Kind of surprising and kind of woke me up just a little. We UUs are pretty smart, so we're very susceptible to this scholastic trap, I think, of forgetting our transcendentalist path of Emerson and those folks, because we consider ourselves to be well aware. There's a joke, in fact, about a very broad-minded Christian. He went to heaven, but he couldn't locate any of his UU friends. So he asked around, finally found an information booth, found an information angel, and asked where he could find the UUs. The angel whispered, "They're all in the library by the entrance." They decided they would rather have a big discussion about heaven than actually experience that reality. No, I'm not, of course, despairing us, you use, or our intelligence. It's very precious. It's only that I wish to warn us, as I warn myself, that it's so easy to obscure the end for which we are searching by the over-envelopment with the search. We may miss the end because we overrode the beginning. The end is more intimate than we could imagine, I think. If I've learned anything through all my searching, it is that the end from which I searched is closer than I could have believed, and it's so close that it's hard to believe. But my goal now is to get from there to here. I appreciate T.S. Eliot's dictum. He said, we shall not seek from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. I only have glimpses of how wonderful it is to live in the flow of life without worry. How marvelous these moments are, though, when they occur. How wonderful it can be if the moment occurs when I'm striving for social justice now or economic equity, as I might create an artistic production rather than submitting to a catastrophic need for security. How marvelous to be able to work for whatever we work for in our life as if it were an art, as if we were carving a sculpture, writing a song, or choreographing a dance. How wonderful to be able to labor for a better world, as we all do, as one might truly create a work of art, instead of submitting to progress as one might do to a compulsive crusade. When we are witnessing for justice, feeding the hungry, or holding the hand of someone in pain, we have no need for a quest for meaning. This is it. As James Broughton said, this is it, and I am it, and you are it, and so is that, and he is it, and she is it, and it is it, and that is that. What I know now is that when I can manage to live my life intimately with this and that, life is ultimately worthy and very precious. Thank you. I invite us to read together responsively a selection from our hymn book, which is 464, and will appear shortly, I think, on the screen. I'll read the first lines, and if you would read the indentations. And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be raised to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And let us sing. Let it be a dance we do. 311. Oh. What's the meaning of this? And then we will all share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all of us will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be all Eden once again. And let us sing together. Let it be a dance.
Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let the dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and swing. Let your body learn to bend. And be like a willow with the wind. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. A child is born and gold must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning star comes out at night. Without the dark there is no light. If nothing's wrong and nothing's right. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, bear the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance.
And if we have the screen visible, we'll say closing words together. We extinguish the flame of this house, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet together again. Now let our service begin.
me.